So first, when we remember the presentation by Julian Schenten, establishing data infrastructures to trace the chemicals present in products and processes in one crucial enabling factor for this for 2035 in the subject of more sustainable leather chemistry. Therefore, one of the sub-projects focused on IT tools and governance for the traceability of chemicals will be shown by Eleni Kaluziak, and she recorded her presentation, which I will share with you.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Eleni Kaluziak from Darmstadt University of Applied Sciences, and together with Julian Schenten, I'm leading the sub-project of our leather project, which is named IT Tools and Governance for Traceability of Chemicals. From October 2020 until September 2022, we engaged into a co-creative process with various actors from the leather supply chains, including brands, tanners, suppliers, chemical industry, and other stakeholders such as NGOs, IT experts, scientists, consultants, and initiatives such as Leather Working Group and ZDHC. Together with the actors, we define specific objectives, work packages, and steps. And today, due to the limited time, I can only briefly present the key results. More detailed information can be downloaded from our project's website. So the agenda for today covers challenges in general. I will explain the focus of sub-project 2, and what we learned about how to achieve chemical traceability regarding leather products. And last but not least, I will show what are the benefits and challenges of chemical traceability and what this means for a governance framework. So what is the current situation? Production processes and global supply chains across different countries, especially for leather, are complex. NGOs and the media are monitoring negative impacts on human health, human rights, and the environment resulting from such businesses, which increases awareness among consumers and investors seeking for more information. And there are many existing and newly coming up laws on environment, production, and safety on products for the whole life cycle. Yet the truth is that brands and manufacturing companies and suppliers are generally not able to exactly identify, assess, and subsequently declare what materials, including chemicals, their products contain, nor where they have come from. There thus is a high risk of non-compliance or of greenwashing. Now we get to the sub-project focus. This slide shows the cornerstones the participants decided on. The goal is to achieve traceability of chemical substances along supply chains. In other words, that means to know what substances are contained in the products, and therefore one also needs to know which chemicals are used in the processes. The starting point is information that has to be obtained from suppliers, and the whole is facilitated by IT tools and a governance framework. For us, traceability means the possibility of tracing which chemicals are present in which component and in which product, or were also used in the process, and which actor is responsible. Also, we wanted to have a pilot test of such a traceability system. The project never intended to develop any IT tool, but to test the possibilities and limits of reporting leather chemicals with a case study using an example of an existing IT tool and discuss these with the actors. We intended, however, to create a momentum so that the leather sector communicates together and develops and agrees on a common industry-wide standard, meaning to design rules on how the leather sector wants to report chemicals along supply chains. The idea behind this is to develop an industry standard so that not every single company in the leather industry develops its own system with the rules, but the industry agrees on a common standard together to place less burden on suppliers and increase efficiency. The next point deals with the question how to achieve traceability regarding chemicals in leather products. We use an existing traceability tool from another Darmstadt University project, which is designed especially for tracing chemicals in articles to achieve full material declaration. And together with the Ricoster, a German shoe brand for children's shoes, and its supplier, we tested the possibilities and limits of the tool within a case study for leather. We then commenced a second study in 2022 with Deichmann and one of its suppliers from India, as we also wanted to test if precise data on chemicals is also available in the Global South and the reporting framework understood. The overall feedback was that an IT solution for chemicals in leather provides added value to existing initiatives, that the case study showed such an IT tool is technically working, and although some preparation work is needed, and while this of course involves some workload, we got overall positive remarks from users. The aim of an IT traceability tool for leather is to display a structured tree for a product, in our case a shoe. That means a shoe manufacturer or a brand can look up its product, a shoe, in the tool and receive information on which components, materials, and chemicals its shoe is made of. The IT tool also controls the necessary communication with the suppliers, the tiers, that means inquiries and responses. The tool we tested allows each supplier only to see the data of its direct supplier. And this slide presents a screenshot from the IT traceability tool that was initially used in the Live Ask Reach project. It shows an example of how a brand would see his product with all the material data down to a single substance level as provided by the individual suppliers. You can see it here. The tool alerts with the red flags, and the yellow triangle is a warning sign, a red flag, and symbolizes a hazardous substance that the system has recognized. The brand receives an automatic alert. So a brand could search the tool for chemicals and check whether a product contains, for example, potential SVHCs or REACH Annex 17 substances. The individual chemical substances are entered by the suppliers into the tools using CAS numbers and together with quantities and weights. And we also see the possibility to keep certain substances that are not relevant for the brand confidential. Questionnaires, attachments on, for example, sustainability aspects such as land use, animal welfare, and social criteria can also be uploaded. Let's now have a look on the benefits and challenges of Chemicals IT traceability tool. It will help to ensure that products comply with existing legislation. Brands and suppliers will be prepared for regulatory developments, proactively manage chemicals in the supply chain, that means advocate for more sustainable chemicals. The company's risk management is improved also for supply chain processes. Further advantages are conclusions can be drawn about the product design. The tool can help to draw conclusions on the reaction of two process chemicals. Costs for risk-based testing are reduced. Material classifications for recycling are facilitated. Green claims in relation to consumers, investors, NGOs are supported. Trustworthy transparency is made possible and new business models can be established. The challenges for IT traceability tools, to name few, are that there is a lack of data on chemicals. Safety data sheets are not enough as they do not declare every single chemical contained. For example, various compositions used cannot lead to a full material declaration if this is favored. There's a lack of knowledge as, for example, some chemicals are washed out, or it is not clear how much remains in the product during the leather processing, and it needs to be agreed whether or not processed chemicals shall be part of the reporting. There's a lack of standards. Some leather is bought in kilograms, other in square meters, which makes it not easy to translate directly without conversion into units under the IT tool. And there may be a lack of trust in sharing data due to intellectual property. There's a lack of business models encouraging, for example, chemical manufacturer or distributors to share more information on chemical recipes, further to what is currently available to suppliers and brands. And a lack of IT capacities in terms of necessary hardware and software and training. Not least to all mentioned challenges, implementing traceability is burdensome, at least in a short-term perspective. So in the beginning, it's a great effort to get such an approach initiated and change one manners as it costs effective and needs additional manpower. But in the end, this will likely lead to more informed products. So how to reduce challenges? The traceability approach can only work if it is embedded into a mutually agreed governance framework, and a common governance approach would at the same time help to reduce some of the challenges. However, to succeed, it will be necessary to establish a dialogue within the leather sector to achieve a common understanding for framework or industry-wide standard. So we propose the following elements for such framework. We propose for the scope of such framework and the scope of reporting, we got information from a survey we launched and where we asked in detail what data, what chemical should be included in such IT traceability tool. Meaning, for example, are compliance declarations enough or even full material declarations desired according to capabilities of actors? Also, what other topics than chemicals shall be included, such as social or environmental ones? Reportable units need to be decided on whether it is surface or weight, and also allocation rules. And moreover, would the reporting be done batch-wise or with unique product identifiers? There need to be rules on data quality and reliability. And also a research roadmap makes sense where suspected chemicals for further review can be collected and decided on. Also for the support of the suppliers, it needs guidance, training to reduce workload, new businesses they can actually profit from. And so far, the project did not manage to create such momentum in the sector so that the actors along the supply chains get together and negotiate common reporting rules for future traceability system on chemicals. We learned that this needs more time and it is not manageable within the limited time we had. So let me close with the words. As we have heard today, there have been relevant changes at the legislative level, which might also alter the priorities by the leather sector. First, what needs to be done for the sector to become future-proof? And secondly, what role might traceability of chemicals play? So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Eleni, for sharing these interesting findings. Against this background, Julian will now interview a person from a sector whose participation is crucial to reach the sub-project's objectives. So welcome Arnaud Backbier from the leather chemicals manufacturer Royal Smith & Zoon.
Thanks, Desiree. Hi, Arnaud, good to see you. Maybe you first tell us a bit who you are.
So my name is Arnaud Backbier. I'm the Global Commercial Director at Royal Smith & Zoon. I got involved in this project as we find this topic, ESG or more sustainable leather value chain, very important. Providing input, but I came in a bit later in the project. That will shape some of my answers, yeah? And my background is in the chemical industry. So I previously worked in pharmaceutical and food and feed chemicals before I came into the leather chemical area.
Thank you. Desiree just said that the chemical sector is, of course, one of the main players when we think about chemicals traceability. And you are a guy from the chemical sector. Do you think that this traceability approach also offers chances for your sector?
It certainly offers chances. If I think about it, how do you put chances? It is, to me, it's an irreversible trend. And as Johannes mentioned, and as well came back in Eleni, there's a lot of legislation going on. But on top, the Green Deal, I think that Johannes presented a lot that people need to understand. On top of it, you have new ESG reporting coming up for companies, which indirectly will force changes. And the second, which was not mentioned yet, there's more and more backlash against greenwashing. Consumers and brands are held accountable for what they report, what they tell about their products. So showing data, at least give people the idea that this is proven, that it's something is a more sustainable product is key. So for me, that's the business case of moving forward. And we need to go, we need to shape, we need to do this. There is no way either from the legislation or indirectly or directly from the legislation what consumers and brands or OEMs in the case of automotive are asking from us. And chemicals are a big role because everything we use day to day has chemicals in it.
Thank you. But this answers also another question, because you mentioned the business case, and Eleni said apparently there's a lack of business cases, or they are not visible, but I guess it's a member of perspective. It depends on the perspective, and you see a business case here.
Yeah, and you're fully right there. Yeah? Coming from food and pharma, this was kept on going and going as it worked in that area as well. Yeah?
Okay, would you then also agree in the following observation? Eleni said that we did not mobilize a critical mass of industry and there was no momentum, but we have also heard what Johannes presented and what you referred to. Are we maybe just a year too early for this project? And would you say that this momentum could be created at short notice, so to say?
Well, looking back as Smitten Zone and specific in this project, I think, as I mentioned, we were a little bit later got actively involved, and so we were not involved in the two cases you presented. So I can't highlight on that, but I do recognize the momentum. Coming back to food, pharma, and feed, this did also not come out in a day, and it developed over years. What traceability, which is commonplace in those value chains, we need to develop that for the textiles, if I put including leather. It's clear from everything that we need to do this while managing the topics of what does it mean, what is the confidentiality, what can we do. And I do see a bit sometimes the discussion, not in this project, but overall, that the IT tools like blockchain is mixed with the actual discussion about traceability. So we need to create momentum, we need to shape this, because if you look at the timelines of the EU, looking at the various legislation, it's a big framework with, on one hand, you could say we have a few years, but it's only a few years before we have everything in place. With everybody has to have the right data, the right process, the right tests, or the right IT tools. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Then I think I take this as your final answer. And last remarkable words, our 5 minutes are already through. Thank you so much, Arnaud.